Welcome to Super Talk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride.
Make me happy.
Professor, like a gentleman, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Let's roll in. In 3.
Welcome to Super Talk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode number 91. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, is my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella. Titanium.
Good day to you, sir.
Good day to you, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Had a big weekend?
Had a phenomenal weekend. Saw one of the had the pleasure of witnessing probably one of the best live sporting events I've ever been able to see in person in my life. I mean, it was
Tennessee versus Alabama.
I was there. I have the fortunate or sometimes unfortunate pleasure of having one child at both universities, and so we got to go to the game this weekend in Knoxville, where my daughter goes to school. My son came up from Tuscaloosa with a bunch of his fraternity brothers, and they weren't too happy with the outcome, but the people at Tennessee were extremely happy with the outcome.
Place lit up like a fucking Christmas tree. I mean, it was bedlam. I was watching videos on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, and it was absolutely insane.
It's one of those situations that, you just can't believe it until you're part of it. I was talking to our friend Sean Kelly and Amy Kelly. They were down there with us, and it's like I can't imagine what else would have been this cool. Like, I
can name about 5 things that would be cooler than that, but I get what you're saying.
I mean, I guess if you were in where was the AFC Championship game last year when Patrick Mahomes tied the game with 13 seconds left or whatever it was, had 13 seconds in and tied the game, something like that. Like a divisional championship game that comes down to the wire, I could see. But look, this stadium holds 102,000 people.
Yeah.
And
it was loud.
It was packed, and they're all obviously heavily invested. But it was one of those things that I'll remember for the rest of my life, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm glad I got to spend some time with both my kids, and we just had a great time. So it was a phenomenal weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah, but the 9-hour drive home yesterday sucked, but it was worth it. So
watched the whole game and used the bathroom whenever I felt like it, and got a cold drink whenever I wanted it.
There you go.
That's awesome. And you saw Morgan Wallen, huh?
Yeah, that was the other great thing.
And Peyton Manning's bar at the hotel you were at?
Peyton Manning owns a bar at the hotel we were staying at called Saloon 16, and he was having a private dinner there with some friends, and it was him and Morgan Wallen, and I think Kenny Chesney was there too. But Morgan Wallen, was pretty happy because he's a Knoxville kid, and was pretty happy that the Vols won, and he just jumped on stage and played a few songs, and man, it was awesome. It was just a great weekend.
That's awesome.
It was a great weekend.
Well, let's get rolling into
Let's talk about some comic book media, for Christ's sakes.
Let's
All right,
go.
well, before we get started, we want to thank the listeners that bring the show to you. Those are our patrons. Patreon.com/Supertalk is how you become a member of the patronship. You can help us out, donate $1 for every episode, and we really appreciate it if you do. It really helps the show out, and all the money that you donate goes directly back into the show that we produce for you. So if you enjoy it, would love you to become a member of the patronship.
Yeah,
Patreon.com.
Appreciate the help. Thank you.
All right, let's jump into our review section, and we had the finale this week of She-Hulk, Episode 9, and I think both of us can probably safely say it was nothing that we expected.
No, it was completely unusual. It started off great, like the opening sequence, the flashback and the copy of the old Incredible Hulk show. That whole mirroring I was beside myself. Like, I thought that was the greatest thing ever, and I just thought it was so cool the way they did shot for shot, theoretically shot for shot. Did you know that when they showed the She-Hulk in the dress. That's a guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They hired a guy bodybuilder.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
I thought it was
because
obviously
it was Lou Ferrigno in the original show
in
in the 70s.
Yeah.
But Bill Bixby, the scenes that they showed Jennifer in, sitting in the chair and all
Yeah,
the
the
other,
whole
that's
thing.
exactly what
I
Bill
know.
and when she
Shot
was
for
talking
shot.
when she was talking to Bruce and saying, "Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry." That's exactly what Bill Bixby did in the show. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic.
Me too.
And I think 60% of the show was going in the direction we thought the show was going to go.
Yeah.
Which was, Jennifer was in prison for what happened at the end of last episode with the gala and going kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And she was released from prison with the
Inhibitor.
It basically says, hey, you can never be She-Hulk again. So, no charges are going to be filed. You're going to be released from prison as long as you don't turn into She-Hulk.
That's going to last.
Right. And she agreed. And then she went on, she was fired, as you can imagine, from her job.
Yeah.
She was no longer a viable lawyer for the law firm. But she was spending all of her time trying to find out who the intelligentsia is. And she's like, I'm going to sue him. I'm going to sue him for defamation and for illegal access to my phone and all this other stuff. And she was on a rampage.
Her friend Nikki's one of my favorite characters.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Nikki and Pug kind of take it upon themselves to help out. Nikki kind of goes and gets into the website and finds out where the next meeting is. And Pug decides to go there.
She posted a video of her from college that her mother sent her. It's like, this is She-Hulk. This is how she learned how to tweak when she was in, or twerk, or whatever. Yeah. Twerk. I don't want to say the other word. But anyway, and she posted it, and then they were like, that's awesome. Thanks so much, brother. Like, come join us. And so she kind of fools them a little bit, but that was how she found out where the next meeting was.
Yeah, and Pug and Nikki infiltrate the meeting. Pug goes in there and pretends to be part of, I guess the group that doesn't like She-Hulk. And it's in some big cabin. And I don't know about you, but I kind of knew that it was the same cabin that was
of course.
At Blonsky's place. And matter of fact, Jennifer she says, I got to get out of here for a few days. You mind if I just hang out? She goes to the compound, Blonsky's compound. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're welcome. Come back in. No problem. Hang out. And she's like, I need to talk to Emil. Where is he? Oh, he's down. He's
at an event at the barn.
There's an event at the barn. And I guess the intelligentsia had invited, paid, from what we understand, he was paid, the Abomination was paid to appear.
He does guest speaking.
I do guest speaking.
He does appearances.
Yeah. So he was there as the Abomination, and so, as you can imagine, Jennifer was very surprised to see him there, but also to see that he had been turning into the Abomination. And he was like, oh, yeah, I've been doing it for a while. It's no big deal.
Boy. Yeah, she busts in on him and finds out, and then we find out it's Todd.
Todd is the guy that she went on, the creepy guy that she went on a date with that's been in every
By the way, I have
episodes.
to shout out and give props where props are due. Greg Vire called Todd being Hulk King. Yeah. He called that whole thing and said, well, he bought the vibranium steel. That's why he was asking her at dinner if that could pierce her skin.
Right.
That's what gave it away, and he forged a needle that could steal her. Anyway, all that's mute now, but.
Yeah, and but again, I think that the episode was going the direction that everybody thought it was going to go, that he had stolen her blood and synthesized it, and then he injected it into himself, and he turned himself into like a Hulk.
Can we agree this is where the fucking show went off the rails?
Right.
I mean, it kind of went off the rails.
But I think they did it on purpose.
Yeah,
Titania busts into the room,
Yeah.
Bruce comes in through the ceiling, starts fighting the Abomination, and all of a sudden she's like, ho, 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 hang on a second.
Yeah.
This is not the way my show's supposed to end.
Right.
And she basically hits the pause button and does the most egregious breaking of the fourth wall ever.
So meta. It was so meta.
It was.
Yeah.
And in some ways, they were making fun of themselves. They were making fun of the MCU. They
were kind of staying true to the comics, right?
Oh, yeah.
She did that in the comics all the time. She'd bust through the paper and yell at the writers, or I want to speak to Marvel's executives. This is ridiculous. I don't need to be treated this way.
The funny thing was, like, we for like, I don't know, it was like 5 or 6 seconds, the Disney Plus menu screen comes up.
I thought
and
so.
it was silent.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what just happened?
What just happened? Did the show stop?
Right.
Do I need to restart that?
Right. And she's like, oh, I'll take care of this. And then you see her bust out of her little cube on the menu, and she's like, oh, I got it. Oh, yeah. assembled. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. And she jumps into the assembled cube, and she ends up being on set at the Disney set in Hollywood. And she's as She-Hulk, and she's walking just through the whole set, and she's like, she
finds the writers' table.
Finds the writers for the show, and from what I understand, that is the entire writing staff that she's talking to. And they're like, whose idea was this? Who came up with this plot line? This is terrible. This is exactly what we always do.
I had mixed feelings about that whole thing. I was like, this is a shit show. The thing went off the rails. But
they're like, this is what Kevin wants. And she's like, I'm going to talk to Kevin.
Yeah.
And the funny part of this is everybody assumes that Kevin Feige is in charge of everything. And he's the one who tells everybody what to do. Well, this is what Kevin wants. So we're all thinking, oh, she's going to talk to Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Come to find out, she breaks into Kevin's office, and Kevin is a
AI system.
And what does Kevin stand for? I don't even remember. It's like knowledge, enhanced,
something
visionary.
Nexus. I know the last one is Nexus.
Yeah, interdimensional nexus or something like that. Whatever. I can't remember what it stands, but it's an acronym.
Yeah, it is an acronym.
And the concept here is that Kevin is an AI system that is got this algorithm that determines what plot lines should be, what actors should be cast, what people should be doing based on what the internet wants and what society wants. Which is
a total play off of people assuming that Kevin Feige is a cyborg.
Right.
And he is a robot because he never takes days off. He works 24/7, 365 days a week, a year. So, I thought that was very clever. It was funny the way she brought up the X-Men. What about the X-Men? What about this?
Yeah,
what about that? And he's like, whoa.
And he says, I can't tell you that.
Yeah.
And then there was another one where...
will I see you in the big screen? And he's like, no.
No, he says, I'll see you on the big screen. She goes, really? And he goes, no. So it was very funny. I thought it was very funny. But then they kind of just end the show with Todd being arrested.
They clean up the whole plot line, the blood plot line. Bruce, they take Bruce out of it.
Well, that was the other funny thing with the conversation with Kevin. They're like, and Bruce shows up? Well, he's been in outer space. And he's like, he was supposed to come back and tell us where he was and what he was doing. And they're like, oh, that doesn't matter. And we're all like, no, we want to know what happened. So I thought it was a very clean ending. And I thought, again, they were poking fun at themselves, poking fun at the way the internet perceives them.
Very similar to what the comics do.
Yes, exactly. So I thought it was very apropos for this series.
I thought it finished strong. I thought it was off the rails for a while, and it was a shit show. And then they kind of wrapped it up in a cute, clever way.
Daredevil shows back up, and she's
she requests it.
Yeah, she says something like
smashing the fourth wall. And Matt Murdock.
I smashed the fourth wall and Matt Murdock. Yeah, that was very funny. But he comes back and he's going to spend a week there. And they're having a little barbecue back at her house, and Matt's there. And of course, the parents are grilling him on. He doesn't make any money. He said, "No, I have a law practice." So what do you do? He's like, "Well, I help people who can't afford legal fees." And he's like, "So you don't make any money?" It was so funny. I thought that was very comical, but obviously leading into what we're going to be seeing more of him with Daredevil Born Again, right, and all those other things. And I would not be surprised if She-Hulk makes a guest appearance. I mean, it's an 18-episode series, so why not? She might come back and help out and things like that. And then Bruce shows up, and one of the big surprises of the episode.
Did not see this coming.
The Hulk shows back up, Bruce shows up, and they're all happy to see him. He goes, I have some very important news. I want to introduce you to somebody. This is my son, Skaar.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Yeah, so we know that one of the reasons he went back to Skaar is because he probably was told or found out that he had a child, and he went to go pick up his kid. So Skaar, big character from the comics, very big part of the Planet Hulk and World War Hulk storyline. Ends up, being in the MCU afterwards and comes back here. So, I mean, really cool. I thought that was really cool to have him in the series, and I assume we may see him again somewhere, right?
I would assume so. Why would they introduce him?
Right.
I think it would be great if the Hulk kind of played a mentoring role, and Skaar moving forward was the new Hulk in the MCU.
Again, a lot of rumors around where we might see the Hulk and Mark Ruffalo again. There's rumors of them doing a Planet Hulk or World War Hulk movie. Yeah. And Skaar may be on his side, helping him. And where does Jennifer fall? And we just don't know. That there may be some tie-ins there. But I thought that was really cool. And then the post-credit scene, we did get a post-credit scene for the finale. Blonsky, at the end of the episode, agreed to go back to prison because he had violated his parole.
Right.
He's like, I deserve to be back in prison. No problem.
Yeah.
I'll sign the papers, whatever. I'm going to go back to prison. And then Wong shows up and offers him asylum in Carmartage and, portals him away, and that's where he's going to be.
Yeah, that's interesting. Which leads to Thunderbolts, I think.
Potentially. Yeah, who knows?
Could be.
Obviously wasn't featured in the, the preview of the Thunderbolts that we got at D23, but... there's a lot of things we don't know about that movie yet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we know a few things.
Well, we're hoping, at least. So, but anyway, I thought it was, look, as you and I have talked about several times as we've been doing these reviews, from my perspective, She-Hulk was entertaining. It was a useful distraction. It was a character that I enjoyed, and I enjoyed the actors and actresses that played the roles on the show. I thought the writing was good. It was very... consumable, like self-contained short episodes that weren't too busy. Maybe 2 or 3 episodes too long. I think there was a couple in there that were kind of fillers, as we talked about. But overall, I thought it was great.
We gave our opinions of this going into it, and we had the mindset that this was going to be a comedy, a fun lawyer, legal comedy. And it was going to be different than anything, breaking the fourth wall. All these different things that they were going to incorporate in this, but it was definitely a comedy. Even they said from the very beginning, this is going to be a comedy. This is going to be a fun show. So if you went into it thinking it's going to be a Marvel typical show, you were probably disappointed, and I'm sorry to hear that. But we weren't disappointed. We thought it was good. It wasn't great. But it was a fun, entertaining show. So
if I look at the impact that Ms. Marvel had on, I'll say, the greater MCU, I think they wanted to introduce this Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel character into the MCU for the purposes of the Marvels movie that's coming out next year. Here's what we got out of the She-Hulk series. We got She-Hulk / Jennifer Walters as a character that can be in future seasons of She-Hulk or movies or other crossover projects or whatever. We have that character in the MCU now.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I thought Tatiana Maslany did a great job portraying the character, and I think it was really, really, really well done.
And Jennifer Walters has some type of relationship with Matt Murdock.
We got Matt Murdock back, and we got to see him pretty extensively, and we know he's coming back.
Scenes,
but we got him back. Abomination is back. Wong is involved in Abomination.
They're close friends.
Skaar came back in. We got
the Hulk, and we got him going back to Sakaar, bringing his son back to the planet.
So lots of, I think, broad-reaching impacts on the MCU in a very small, self-contained series. But again, the characters they introduced, the plot lines that they moved forward, and some things that they left open I thought was great.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
not bad. Not a bad show.
All right, well, let's jump into the news section this week. We got a few dainty little items here. So we alluded to this last week, Titanium, that there were rumors that Harrison Ford may be joining the MCU, and the rumor was he would potentially be playing Thunderbolt Ross, the recast version of Thunderbolt Ross. Yeah. We obviously lost
William
Hurt last year, and we weren't. This was a very vital and important character in the MCU for a lot of potential storylines and plot lines that we wanted to see to fruition.
Yeah, and like Thunderbolts, they were named after him.
Not really.
Well, he was a part of it.
Later versions of it, not the original.
Okay.
One. Yeah, it wasn't named after him, and he had nothing to do with the early version of the Thunderbolts.
Okay.
He kind of was involved much later on. It was a different team much later on. But that not really. They may make that the case now, but that wasn't how it was originally formed.
Well, we know he's going to be in that movie.
Yes.
Yeah. And Captain America, A New World Order, we know that,
but Marvel officially came out and confirmed that Harrison Ford is joining the MCU as Thunderbolt Ross, and they did also kind of reference the Red Hulk, which is what we thought. Thunderbolt Ross is the Red Hulk, so we think that that's where they're going with this.
Harrison Ford is an icon. He is a legend. It's a huge pull from Marvel to get him on board to do these movies. If he is the Red Hulk, that's great. He is 80 years old, so I just don't see him making a lot of movies with Marvel in the future. just because.
Well, the good, as we talked about this, Titanium, the good news is if he does end up transitioning into the Red Hulk role, it's voiceover work. He doesn't even have to be in the suit to do the CGI. He just needs to be the voice.
Yeah.
So, I think that that's good for him.
I mean, he's a hell of an actor. So, I mean, he's gonna make a huge impact in that movie. I'm looking forward to seeing him, but I'm just concerned about his health. I mean, it's a lot in these movies.
He's making another Indiana Jones movie right now, right?
Well, that's already in the can. I think that's being released sometime. I think they're in post-production for that movie now. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hope it's not too much for him. Like, I don't hope they wear them down,
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, if you look at William Hurt's role in the MCU thus far, it has been very minor scenes. He obviously had a lot to do with the Incredible Hulk movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're ever going to see... I don't know. We don't know what his role is going to be in the Thunderbolts movie or Captain America. It may be like very similar to what Robert Redford did with Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Just bits and pieces here and there, right? So we don't know. We don't know anything.
No, but we do know that they signed him, and it's official now.
So that's huge.
So what our rumor and what our discussions last week came to fruition.
Yeah. So great the official. And again, I love when Marvel comes out, because there's so many rumors out there. When Marvel comes out and makes an official statement or official announcement, all it does is just put the rumor mill to rest. It's like, now we know.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now we can get excited about it.
Yeah.
And we can now talk about what we think might happen.
Right.
So that was great. Another big piece of news. So originally, Marvel had announced they were doing a Nova project. This was announced back at Comic-Con. And the original announcement stipulated that it was likely going to be a Disney Plus series. And we didn't think it was going to be a feature-length film, but it was going to be a Disney Plus series.
Yeah, there was no indication whether it was going to be a film. Everybody speculated it was going to be a Disney Plus series, and that's the way it was leaning. Yep.
And I went so far as to say, Nova is coming to Disney Plus. And they left that open. And now we know, we kind of get some hints at what Marvel's hinting at now. Kind of building on the success of Werewolf by Night, a very singular, self-contained episode was a special presentation, right? So that was the first official special presentation for Marvel Studios on Disney Plus, was the Werewolf by Night special. We loved it. It was great. It didn't do too much. It was exactly what we wanted, and we didn't need...
It exceeded expectations.
We didn't need 6 episodes to get there. We didn't, and it was great. So what we hear now is Marvel is now going to be releasing Nova to Disney Plus as a special presentation. So what I think that means, what everybody's kind of thinking about here, is that it's not going to be an episodic series like we're seeing with all of the other series on Disney Plus thus far. And it's likely not going to be a 2-hour feature-length film. But it's going to be somewhere in between, maybe 45 minutes to 2 hours. It'll be maybe an hour and a half. And it'll be a Nova special that's just to introduce the character and maybe, just develop a plot line and say, this is somebody who's going to be in the MCU moving forward. Fantastic. Give it to me.
Right.
Just give me a hour and a half long movie showing me who Nova is. I don't need 8 episodes to figure it out.
Right.
It's too much sometimes.
Right. You don't need a whole origin story. And if they're going to do an origin story, then they can do it in a special presentation. But you're right. It's a great way to introduce... I wish they had done Miss Marvel as a special presentation, to be honest with you. I think it would have been more effective and it would have been more popular for the character. But yeah, I like this a lot. I'd love to see them do a Ghost Rider the same way, to bring him into the MCU in a special presentation. But I'm a huge fan, Richard Rider, or I can't remember the kid's name, the younger kid.
The other one,
Nova.
yeah, I can't remember either.
The Earth Street-based level Nova that Richard Rider kind of mentors. I can't remember his name, but... Anyway, it's a great way to bring that character in, and definitely a part of Secret Wars, so they need to bring him in before that.
And there are rumors now that Marvel is either going to delay... I don't know if they're going to delay it, because it's still about a year away, but the Echo series now... I think they're rethinking on how they do that. I think the original concept was to have this episodic series for Echo, and I think they're thinking about, do we do it in less episodes but make them longer? And from what I understand, they're talking about reshoots, as well as a lot of editing of the content they've already filmed to kind of
That thing's in the
shrink
can.
it down. I know, and that's what I've heard is that they're now redoing the way that they're going to release that content.
You heard it here first on Super Talk Podcast.
So no official announcements yet, but there is
professor speculating, dropping bombs.
They are thinking about that. So I love the special presentations.
I would too. I think that would be a smart way to get Echo more involved. Daredevil can, and I'm a little worried about 18 episodes for Daredevil. I think there were some filler episodes in that Netflix. I think they should scale that back to maybe 10. But whatever, I'd watch 10 episodes of Daredevil. Shit, I'm going to watch 18 of them. But Echo, that's a stretch unless there's some kind of compelling story in that.
We've gotten no information about how many episodes were planned, how long each episode was going to be. But I think the theory now is they may try to compress it instead of releasing.
With the success of Werewolf by Night,
Yeah.
they're rethinking these series
Maybe
into
it's
special presentations.
2 or 3 longer episodes instead of 6 to 8 shorter ones. You know, like Falcon and Winter Soldier. I can't remember how many episodes that was. Was it 6 or 7? I can't remember. Right. But those were like 45-minute long episodes. They're thinking, well, maybe we do an hour and 20 minutes twice.
Yeah.
Or 3 times. You know, we do just compress it and instead of having to
57 minutes twice.
Right.
And just
that'd be great.
Keep it around 2 hours and do 2 special presentations.
So don't be surprised when we hear something about that here in the next couple of months. I do think they're rethinking how they're releasing content to Disney Plus, and it just makes a lot of sense because there's some of these characters, like the Echo character for itself. I think that series is really designed less for the importance of Echo in the MCU going forward and more to kind of bring the Hawkeye storyline, tying it into Daredevil coming back,
Kingpin
and the Kingpin and all that, bringing all that together, right? So, we'll see what happens with that. Another big news this week: Titanium dropped a bomb on me this week. We talked about this last week. There were some more casting rumors that Sacha Baron Cohen was joining the MCU in an undisclosed role, and we're like, what role would he be in the MCU?
Yeah.
And we were like, what the heck are they talking about with this guy?
Very bizarre.
And some of these rumors are now getting cleaned up. So, official announcement, Sacha Baron Cohen is joining the MCU as
Mephisto.
Mephisto's coming to the MCU, folks. You heard it here.
Yep.
It's no longer
Ironheart.
a meme. It's no longer a joke. Mephisto will be in the MCU, and you said he's already filming scenes with Riri Williams.
Yeah, and Ironheart. Yeah, that's
what is Mephisto doing in an Ironheart series?
I don't know. I can't get that. That's going to be crazy. Now I really want to watch that series even more so.
But you also said he's filming scenes with Catherine Hahn for Agatha House of Harkness, or what is it?
The Covenant,
Den of Covens, or Covenant
House of I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
They've changed it so many times.
Yeah.
But Agatha, let's just call it Agatha, and he's going to be in that for sure. He's a great actor. He's bizarre. His characters are second to none. So I can't wait to see how he portrays Mephisto. Our biggest argument has always been that you eliminate the China market and some of the Middle Eastern markets when you incorporate the occult or
a demonic character,
right? Or the occult or any of that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if they care. I mean, they might not care. They might be just like, you know what? Let's bring them in. Let's bring them in these Disney Plus series. If they don't want to watch it, it's not going to affect our box office.
Well, because Disney Plus isn't available in China.
Correct.
There you go.
Right. So it's perfect to introduce him there, and they don't necessarily have to bring him back into a large movie. But here's another great example of Marvel, the difference between DC and the difference between Marvel. Marvel listening to the fan base and catching on to what catches fire and what has legs and what's starting to trend. Everybody's been talking about Mephisto since WandaVision, and now they're actually going to bring him in. I mean, that's brilliant. Give the fans what they want. Look, Reed Richards, right? In
John Krasinski. Yeah.
John Krasinski.
Fan casting.
Fan casting. They wanted him so bad in that. Let's put him in that. Let's put him in that. And even if he doesn't come back, because I hear now that the guy from Lucifer might be Tom Ellis or something.
Might be the new
Reed Richards. Yeah, that's the latest.
I have a feeling this is not the last we've seen of John Krasinski. And I'm not saying he's coming back as Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie.
Right.
But we have Secret Wars.
Of course.
And we have this whole multiverse saga that we're dealing with. And we already know that he is a multiverse version of Reed Richards. Who says he can't come back?
The fact that now Mephisto is, even if it's just a rumor, the fact that Mephisto is now coming into the MCU, I'm ecstatic. Now, you throw in Doctor Doom on that anywhere, put Doctor Doom in somewhere, and I'm going to be set. I'm going to be so happy.
Well, and you also mentioned that this role was originally offered to Giancarlo Esposito? Giancarlo Esposito?
Nailed it.
Yeah. But he had been offered the role, and he turned it down.
Yeah.
And I think when he was talking on stage at that one Comic-Con and he was discussing his conversations with Marvel, and he alluded to the fact that Professor X and Magneto were roles that he's discussed with them. Right. I think that either of those roles would be fantastic 100%
for him. 100% agree.
Mephisto, while I think he could play that character, he's played a kind of villainous character both in The Boys as well as in the Mandalorian series, so I think he could play that Mephisto character, but maybe that's not what he wanted, and that's why he turned it down. I don't think we've heard the last of him. I think he'll be something.
That'd be great. MCU. Yeah, great actor. Awesome. He was great in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think it'd be great to see him get something in the MCU. But yeah, look, Sacha Baron Cohen playing Mephisto, and he can bring his own twist. I mean, the guy's funny as hell.
He's a character actor, and he's going to be. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
All right. Well, let's jump into our top of the week this week, brought to us by our friends over at Studio GG Studios.
Studio GG Studios!
Hey, Studio G, keep up the good work. We really appreciate everything.
Woman Amanda! Love them.
We always link their page in our show notes. Please go visit them and support them. They always do so much for us. So thank you, Studio G.
Thank you, boys.
Top of the week this week is pretty big schedule delay announcement from Marvel. We talked about this. Titanium alluded to this last week on our show, last episode, that there were some delays coming, and he had been, scouring the dark web, and had kind of heard that some delays were on the forefront. I hadn't heard anything about it, and literally like the next day, we got an official announcement from Marvel saying, there are some delays to our schedule.
We're going to push some shit back,
and all of these, I can say safely, are directly related to the shakeup with the Blade movie, with the director leaving the project, them completely rewriting the script, Sam Raimi coming in to take over.
Has that been confirmed? Sam Raimi is going to be directing?
I thought it was.
I don't know if it is. I couldn't find it, but if you say the professor says it, it is.
I thought that they had confirmed, but we can.
And all the Mahershala Ali news, how he was unhappy with the current script. There were 2 lackluster fight scenes, and he felt like that's not the Blade that I signed up for. Now he's heavily involved in the script. He's got more creative input than he did
this is
before.
An Oscar-winning actor.
You got to give him the reins. Absolutely.
He's earned it. And he took this role on to pay homage to the character and the vision that Wesley Snipes had developed of this character many, many, many years ago. Right. And he's like, I can take that character and pour myself into it and make it even better.
Yeah.
Give him the ability to do that.
Give him the ability to do that.
So
absolutely.
These delays are a direct reflection of them having... So that movie was supposed to start filming next month in November. And they announced officially that the project had been delayed indefinitely. Well, now we know what indefinitely means. We know exactly when it's coming. So far, there are no delays to anything through next summer. So that everything that's on the calendar thus far has not been affected.
So Black Panther,
Black Panther 2 coming out November 11th this year. That's still on schedule.
Right.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania still coming out February 17th next year. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 coming out in May 5th, 2023. That's still not affected. And The Marvels is now coming out in July 28th, 2023. And if we remember, The Marvels was originally supposed to come out in February.
Yep.
It switched spots with Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. So they just flipped those. So now The Marvels is coming out in July. But that slate has not been affected. However, we were supposed to get Blade in November of 2023.
Yes.
So we were getting that movie next November. that movie has now been pushed from October. It was actually October 2023 to September 6th, 2024.
What date is that, Professor? That sounds like a familiar date.
So that is, again, a year push of this movie. And that was the date we got for Deadpool.
Yeah.
Was September 6th, 2024. So they moved Deadpool 2 months down the road. Deadpool 3 is now coming out November 8th, 2024.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Professor, but you and I speculated on this with Blake Lively being pregnant, and that turned out that he would have to start filming either during the pregnancy, the birth of the baby, or very close after. So this might be...
I think what they ended up doing was they said, hey, Ryan, we want to give you a couple more months. And he's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he didn't hesitate at all. Sure, we'll take the extra 2 months. Why not? But so what ends up happening is Blade now takes that Deadpool slot in September of 2024. And Deadpool 3 moves out into the November time slot in 2024. And now they also announced a major delay for Avengers Secret Wars. You and I speculated about this last week.
Yeah.
We found it incredibly unbelievable that 2 Avengers movies were coming out in the exact same calendar year.
And it was relatively close together.
Avengers Kang Dynasty was scheduled for May of 2025. And Avengers Secret Wars was scheduled for November of 2025.
Yeah.
So 2 movies within 6 months of each other.
Huge movies.
2 huge Avengers movies within 6 months of each other in the same calendar year. We're like, that seems a little ambitious. When we haven't even heard about who's directing Secret Wars yet and who's taking that on. Well, they officially came out and said, we are moving Avengers Secret Wars from November of 2025 to May 1st of 2026.
6
months out. So they're pushing it 6 months out. So...
it will next year.
Yeah, it will be about a year between Avengers movies. So
that makes more sense.
Yeah, Kang Dynasty May of 2025 and Secret Wars in May of 2026.
That makes more sense.
Now, the one thing that I am happy about this move is that pushing it out to May of 26 gives them some runway to introduce some of these other characters that we're hoping are going to be part of Secret Wars, potentially. The X-Men, potentially some mutants. We're going to get the Deadpool movie. We're going to introduce some other characters that we want to be part of Secret Wars. Whereas if it was so contained that they didn't have time to do any of that, and now we might get it.
The Fantastic Four movie was moved as well.
I don't think that was moved. No, that's still February of 2025.
Okay, 2025.
So that's still on the slate for February. So that the unchanged projects are Captain America 4 is still May 2024.
Okay.
Thunderbolt still July of 2024. Fantastic Four is still February of 2025. That was not changed. Kang Dynasty still May of 2025. And now they've announced another untitled project in the November 7th, 2025 slot. So the slot previously occupied by Secret Wars is now it's occupied by an untitled project at this moment.
Interesting.
There's a lot of speculation that this might be Shang-Chi 2, which we know has been greenlit, which we know they're working on the script, and the director's in place, the writers are in place.
How can you do that and Kang Dynasty? How can he do those two movies? Yeah, that's ambitious.
Film at the same time, or film them back to back.
That's crazy.
Maybe you do that.
That's pretty ambitious. That's a lot, is what I'm saying.
It could be. Now, my biggest concern about this whole schedule change is if you looked at the timeline, there were some gaps, especially in Phase 5 that they hadn't announced yet. We haven't seen any of that. But Phase 4 was pretty much in the can. We kind of knew what was happening in Phase 4. It ended with the Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is in July of 2024. That was the end of Phase 4. We're like, okay, great, no problem. Then we're going to get Fantastic Four after that. It's going to start Phase 5. Or Phase 6.
Now there's a huge gap.
Huge gap. So we've got the Marvels coming out next July. July 28th, 2023. We do not have another Marvel movie on the calendar until Captain America 4 in May of 2024. So from July of next year until May the following year, we have 0 Marvel movies on the schedule.
That's
0.
Crazy.
Right?
That's
because
crazy.
Blade moved out of its October slot.
Yeah.
They gave up the February slot that they had, and now we know that there's a Sony, one of the Sony movies, Kraven the Hunter, I think, is coming out that February or something. So those spots have been vacated. There are no movies coming out for 10 months from Marvel, from July to May the next year. That concerns me.
Yeah.
That there's such a huge time gap, and they're trying to paint a picture, the multiverse saga, they're trying to develop a storyline, and there's going to be a 10-month gap between major motion pictures.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that's coming out that December is Avatar 2.
That's next
Avatar
December.
3, yeah.
Yeah, that's next December.
So this December comes the Avatar, The Way of the Water, and then the sequel to that, Avatar, I guess 3, would be coming out that following
24.
24, yeah. I don't know. That's a huge gap. They got to fill that with something.
That's not next year, though, dude. That's what I'm saying, is we have a gap from July of next year to May of 24. The next Avatar doesn't come out until that
December
Christmas.
24, yeah.
So the gap is in a period where there's nothing.
December 23.
So again, there's speculation and rumor and all kinds of other things that there is another Spider-Man project in the works.
Yeah, that's a rumor.
Spider-Man 4 is in the works. They're working on it. They're hiring directors and writing a script and all this other stuff. And nothing has been announced about that. We know that that is a Sony project that is done in concert with Marvel Studios. No announcements have been made. But a gap of 10 months, and again, a Christmas holiday season with no Marvel movie between that holiday season and no Avatar movie or anything else to really compete with it, that might be a great spot for a Spider-Man movie to go in.
Yeah.
Right around the Thanksgiving time frame of 2023, next year. Now, here's the rub. You got to start filming that now.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard anything about them filming anything. Because if you want a movie to come out next year this time, then you better start filming it now.
That's crazy.
And we haven't heard anything. But I'm really concerned of a 10-month window of no Marvel movies. Now, they will continue to release...
How spoiled are we that we're concerned about
I know.
that? Yeah.
And again, they will be continuing to release projects on Disney Plus, whether they're special presentations or Disney Plus series. We are going to continue to get those, but no major motion picture for 10 months. You're right, we're spoiled, and we're kind of upset about this. But at the same time, they're trying to develop a storyline, and people will forget. They're like, what was the last movie that came out?
Right.
Oh, I don't remember, right? And they'll forget about it. And I want that storyline to continue. But again, for them to come out with a movie at the end of next year, they better start filming it soon, and we haven't heard anything about them filming anything.
That's a huge gap between that July or May. Is it May?
July of next year.
July of next year.
And May
all the
the
way
following
through May
year.
Wow.
10 months.
That's crazy.
10 months without a movie. Again, I don't know what they can do. Could they pull a Captain America up earlier? Potentially. Could they pull the Thunderbolts up earlier? Potentially. We haven't heard any announcements. I mean, that would be very ambitious, I think, to do so. But I just don't know what they would do otherwise. Something has to. I just don't see them not doing something in that entire time frame.
Push a movie back, maybe.
You mean push like the Marvels back from July to like October? Potentially, but then you're creating another gap.
Yeah.
Then you're going from May to October. They could do that. Yeah, they could push that into that spot. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. Yeah, it's
brutal.
Very brutal.
Good stuff, Professor. Thank you so much. Bell is rung. Let's shut it down.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or @supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
And we're out. Thank you, too.
Everyone likes this game. Haters gonna hate. And I know you can't wait to see the black viper. Round and round she goes. Hardly no one knows. In her black